welcome to the Awaken Family Study Group. This week, we're super excited. We have Sandra Marchese joining us from New York, and Maricela and I have been doing these videos each week. We're super excited to have her join us, and I'm going to give her an opportunity to really introduce herself. But if this is kind of your first time, hopefully it's not, because this is an 8-week study group. But this week is week 3, and we are reviewing pages 89 through 130. And I don't know about you girls, but this week, each week is so incredibly amazing, with so many nuggets, so many blessings, so much wisdom, and so much beauty to share with the world. I'm just super excited to dig into this week. So before we do that, Sandra, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your beautiful children?
Sure. Thank you, Jena, and thank you, Maricela. My name is Sandra Marchese, and I am an elementary school counselor with a background in special education. And I just love working with children, helping them to develop self-regulation and self-awareness, and even their own level of self-consciousness. And through my experience as an educator, I decided that the best way for me to help bring about change for children was to get to the root of it, which is through the parents and in the home. And so about 2 years ago, I started my journey on a path as a conscious parenting coach, and helping parents to understand the peaceful parenting paradigm, and also how to make mind shifts of their own to help themselves come to parenting in peace, especially in those moments when our children trigger us. And so I do have 2 children of my own. Currently, I have 2 boys that are 16 and almost 11 years old. I just love them, and my husband and I are raising them together. If anyone is interested in learning more about this or reaching out to connect with me personally, you can email me at sandra@parentingalive.com. That's SANDRA@parentingalive.com. My website is also parentingalive.com. And I picked the name Parenting Alive with an exclamation point because that's what I feel like in my inner cells, like life and parenting with this conscious parenting paradigm. And I just want so many other parents to know that. That's why I'm so grateful, Jena, that you're having this opportunity to help us share through Dr. Shefali's book, The Awakened Family. So thank you. I think that's it for now. I'll have a chance to chat some more, but for now, I'll pass it on to Maricela. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you very much for sharing your background. We're just really, really excited that we'll be able to learn and grow together, and especially given your background. So welcome. And my name is Maricela, and I am from Idaho, and I have a 3-year-old. And I'm also excited to be on this movement of conscious parenting, as I continuously learn that it starts with me in order to make a change in the world. So I'm really excited to be with both you and with Jena. Thank you.
Awesome. And you girls, I'm being flooded with goosebumps from both of you. I just feel the passion that you have, with really not only having an impact in your own family, your own life, but also the world around you. So, and I feel incredibly grateful to be sharing this time and space with you guys. So I'm going to dig in. And before we hit record, we all 3 shared that, we could just go on and on. There's so much good wisdom in this book. And so if I'm going to pick one thing that really stood out to me, and it is about, it's on page 94, and it is about rethinking our ideas about love. It really triggered me, and I have to say, I would stop and I would back up and I would kind of reread and reflect. And even, I shared in one of the other videos, I have 2 older grown children, but it's not about beating myself up, but I do go back and I think about, wow, situations that was presented where I could have, had different options, but I just didn't know. Neither did my parents. And so this is also so exciting because I feel almost as if a flower is birthing, like opening up and expanding, even within me, even though, I am all about the conscious relationships, but it's taking even me deeper into parenting, into a whole new world and ball game. So I'm just going to read a little bit out of this. And Dr. Shefali put, we need to ask serious questions such as, what do I mean when I say I love my child? And what's my love comprised of? Our definition of love needs to be clear and consistent, moving away from what we need in order to feel secure and to what our children need. It's important to be careful that our responses emerge not from our fear-based conditioning, but from a desire to provide what our children require in order to blossom in their truest selves. And also I highlighted, love and fear cannot exist at the same moment. Most of us know this to be true, although we need to be reminded of that, right? And then on page 97, they learn from their parents that it is bad to feel bad. And it, again, as a result, often turn to addictions to avoid any discomfort whatsoever. Once again, we see how our ideas about love inhibit our ability to truly present what our children need from us. And this really hit me because on so many levels, and somewhere in the book, she also spoke about how us women are kind of conditioned to be the nurturers and to be the fixers. And I find that what she was referring to, at least this is my perception of this part of the book and how it relates in my life, how I'm always, when they do get discomfort, that I'm always so fast to just want to fix it. And sometimes, she spoke in the book in depth about how it is good that they go through, and understand that there's peaks and valleys, but, how I related it was how I was going back to painful experiences in my childhood. Maybe I needed embraced at moments of my childhood, and in regards to that, always being too quick to take that discomfort away, because then I feel that we are setting our children up for, huge disappointment and expectations of the world being perfect. And so, not that we can't be there to lighten their fall, but there are times they need to understand that it's not bad to have so to say, it's hard to use good and bad, right? We are still, using those words and terms. I try to, as she also recommends, not to define our children in good and bad with that duality, changing our verbiage. But, when those challenges happen in the children's life, to embrace them. Because I know for me, I do that. And we talked about this last week, Madi, that we will do things as parents and adults, yet we have higher expectations of our children. So I'm just curious, Sandra, what do you think about that?
Well, I agree with everything you've said. But yes, you're right. The fear-based parenting really does keep us from loving our children. And loving can come out in all those actions of empathy and being with them in the here and now and mirroring what they are experiencing in the moment, just so they feel connected. But when thoughts of events from our past surface, when we're in those moments of being triggered, it really prevents us from those loving experiences because the fear is getting in the way. So you're right. We really need to go through a process of awareness and healing in order to be more loving with our children.
Yes. How about you, Madi?
I agree. And I think that just like what both of you are saying, like I would add on, it's like that awareness. Like, how do I create that awareness? Like, I think I'm perfect. I'm okay. But really having to take the moment to look at myself and say, okay, what happened? How am I feeling? And where is this coming from? And why is it bothering me so much? And that's a process in itself. And I think, as we've been reminded, we have to be gentle with ourselves, but also allowing an intentional space, whether it's 5 minutes a day or whatever feels right with you, where you can sit back and reflect, like, how was my day today? What was I feeling? What was I thinking? Why did I get upset? Or why was I happy? And starting to create a consciousness where we can begin to apply it in other areas of our life. So it is, I think, part of the process as well.
Yes. And, I find that, I could speak about lots of where I have actually done that. And I think, in regards to, putting expectations about how I love and not realizing it, very unconscious, that unconscious layer of what we do in kind of that conditional love. And she spoke a lot about that. And that is, I think for the most part, we do pretty good as parents. Most everyone has those good intentions, but there are layers of that. And it is about that deeper awareness within your own self, what it triggers, and really that transformation that happens not only with your life, but when children see that you are, using your own knowledge to grow yourself, it gives them the freedom to do it, as well. So Sandra, I'm curious, what stood out to you this week?
Yes, thank you. On page 79 of Dr. Shefali's book, she writes about a family. I'll read about halfway down on the page. It says, when Micah's parents came to understand her need to be heard and validated, they altered their approach. They first modified their understanding of her behavior. Instead of seeing her as defiant, they now realized that she was defending herself. This was a small shift in perspective, allowed them to work with her in a whole new way. So that really resonated for me, the words, is your child being defiant or defensive? And it lends to us to be thoughtful about that. And if we look at it from the perspective of their being defensive, then that leads us to question, well, how am I setting up the environment in my family that's causing them to be defensive? And if you don't mind, I'll share about 2 years ago, when I first started on this journey of being very conscious in my parenting. I was sort of forced into it because my son was 13, almost 14, and in that stage where a lot of teenage parents experience that sense of being out of control. And so I was definitely in that stage, and for me that was very scary. And so I reacted by tightening the grips and trying to be in more control, and then my son reacted by wanting to make more decisions by himself, even if they were against family rules. And there was a lot of conflict that was occurring between the two of us. And so it forced me into this journey of change. And through it, I discovered that, wait a minute, he's just in that developmental stage of autonomy. He just wants to decide for himself and be able to explore life and make his own decisions and become successful in who he is on the inside. But I was so scared, and it was really triggering a lot of fear in me from an event that happened in my life, which I won't share now. It takes too much time. But to get to the point, though, that once I realized that my sense of wanting to control was creating this conflict between the two of us, I was able to let go. I went through that process of developing an awareness and releasing and forgiving and replacing it all with some more empowering beliefs that affected my parenting in a way that I could be in touch with my son. Instead of him saying, "I hate you, Mom," he was now, after months of work, he was saying, "I love you," giving me hugs. And he was asking, is it okay if I go with my friends, instead of just leaving? And so that paradigm shift in me from being a dominant parent to a more peaceful, conscious parent just changed the relationship. And when Dr. Shefali mentioned in the book about her child, that case where the child was viewed as defiant, let's view the child as defensive. And why? Like, that resonated to me and reminded me of my own parenting stage a couple of years ago when that was happening. And so when we look at our child as being defensive, it might feel uncomfortable for us because we don't want to be the ones who are causing our child to act like this, right? But it also gives us that space to decide, like, oh, what do I need to do to change me? What do I need to do to change the way I'm parenting or the environment to set up success in the relationship? So I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know what, that triggers me so much because, what it reminds me of is even in schools and having different kids, and she spoke about this in the book too, I think right around that same area. And it was about, you have a more passive child and then you have an aggressive child. You have someone who, fits the mold of, so to say, being good and obedient and you don't have problems with them, but then their sibling comes up and all of a sudden you're reevaluating even your parenting skills. And because they have more energy, like my boys have way more energy than my daughter. And my daughter was much easier to raise until, of course, teens and the drama. But, generally speaking, there was a clear difference even in the kids. And I think even in schools, and Sandra, you're exposed to this way more than me, but, where some teachers, they go to that paradigm where your child's not fitting in this box, he's fidgeting. I had that with my older son. He's fidgeting, he's defiant, he's this, yet no, he wasn't projecting any poor behavior other than he needed to be busy. He had good grades, so it was hard for me as a parent. I kept going, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? He's being bad. He's not, but he's very big. His personality's big. He doesn't like to be boxed in, but oftentimes we do see that as, all of our stuff comes out on that. But I love how you were able to really pull back and look within and say, what can I do? Because that's what has shifted me with this book. How about you, Maricela?
Yes, I agree. It even brought me back to some of my teenage years, and I was like on the rebel side, like, oh, I want to do this. And right now, when I was listening to Sandra, I thought, wow, like I went through those moments, but I was really just trying to explore my identity. Like, what do I want? Who do I want to be? Or what is my expression of who I am? But at times I was shut down, whether it was from groups, from teachers, from my parents, from my family, from my siblings. And that was really hard. So then you're going on, you have another layer of complexity that you're facing as a teenager. And it can be very difficult. So I think the more aware we are, the better we can support our children, especially when we're going through so many transitions, and especially in those teenage years. Oh, wow. I mean, what a blessing that the consciousness, your Sandra, like in your case, your son was able to be a part of that journey. That's amazing.
And Madi, how about you? What triggered you this week? Like, I know there's so much, but what really resonated with you?
Well, the one page that I highlighted was on page 112, and it says, when you help her embrace, well, let me restart. When you help him or her embrace her challenges, instead of resenting them, you may realize she can't be who she is without them. She needs you to accept her limitations for what they are. Then from this place of acceptance to help her grow into her fullest expression within the context of these limitations. When we see our children for what they came into this life with and honor this as an intrinsic part of their nature, we will be able to help them transform in the manner that they need, not as we think they need. This is what I mean. Okay, and I'll stop right there. So I took that, and it really gave me something to think about. All of that pain, and it just reminded me, like, okay, I need to allow my little one to go through his challenges as well and to embrace it. And he has a lot of energy, and I constantly hear it from people. Oh, he has a lot of energy. He has a lot of energy. And then I start thinking, is that normal? Is that okay? Should I get it checked out? And my mom tells me, oh, you had that much of energy, so it's okay. And I thought, Maddie, it's okay. Like, this is part of who he is as well. I mean, can we hone it down by doing some breathing exercises and creating a space that provides that, the sacredness, the quietness within the self and the environment? Yes. But also let him be who he is and go through those challenges, because that is what helps him grow into that being that he was brought with. Just like I went through my set of challenges, I learned. So it was just a really good reminder that I can't take him away from the challenges and, oh, you're going to be fine. but rather allow him to go through and with and in the journey. I don't know if that resonated with anyone.
Yeah, you know what? It triggered kind of what I spoke about loving them for who they are, not how they can please us, but really who they are. And Mari, I also, Jabril, he has so much energy, just like Rock. And so, I know I don't set him up for failure. I know he needs playtime. He needs to get that out. And honestly, I have learned to really embrace it. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's not always the best of times, but I just have learned to really embrace it. And you're right. Other people's opinions, and I'm going to share something, and it makes me a bit uncomfortable, but I guess that's why I'm going to share it. Me and my husband made a decision about, keeping Jabril. We're going to, his birthday's in July, but we're going to, keep him one extra year before starting school. And I will tell you, we have gotten so much flack from that. I was thrilled to read that part in the book where Dr. Shefali went through that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so alone. One of the first things, he just turned 5, and everyone always says, so you're starting school this year. And it's very uncomfortable. It puts me, not that I'm trying to defy or, defend myself, but yet, just like you said, Mari, these, people put expectations on us, and we start evaluating, oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong? Oh, well, should I reevaluate that decision? And that's what it reminded me of, Mari, when you shared that, other people's opinions and judgment, how it's like, I can see that, how parents can get trapped into feeling like they have to do something. And I'll save it for another time, but there's also a decision that I made with my older son that I don't want to say that I regret. I try not to regret things, but in a sense, man, had I known better and had I felt how empowered I feel today as a parent, even with my own life and my own decisions, I promise you, I would have made a different decision. And it breaks my heart to a degree, but yet all of this is, how many parents can I reach out there? And I'm going to end with that golden nugget for myself. Just how many parents can we reach to give them the freedom for really evaluating their own family life and their own children and not putting them in boxes? And that's probably my nugget for this week, is really doing that, taking a step back and really looking at your life, your child in a whole new way. And Sandra, I'm going to pass it to you. And if you want to add anything to what Maricela shared with us, and then you can just go on with your final thoughts and your nuggets.
Sure. I think that what you were saying, Maricela, really resonated with what Jena was saying about the fear-based parenting. And sometimes when our children have those challenges or limitations, we're afraid that they're not going to match up with someone else, they're not going to meet the standards, or they might get upset, or whatever fears we have. So I think it all really connects. But honoring them with their limitations, and the way Dr. Shefali said it just really made a lot of sense. And using those limitations as a means of accepting of who they are, and the idea of that they can transform the way they need, not the way that we think they should fit into that box. Just as we're all saying, it all just fits together. I think for myself, the nugget that has meant a lot for me this week is about, how do I change the conditions in my home to be able to meet what I want my children to become. Like controlling, on page 109, I'll just refer to it really quickly. The only control we have as parents is limited to ourselves and the environment in our home. And that's the nugget I want to leave with you this week. Thank you.
That's really, really good. And I'm definitely gonna be embracing that too, and remembering that nugget, Sandra. So thank you for that. Mari, how about you? How about your final thoughts and golden nugget?
Yes, I'm actually going to piggyback on Sandra. I wrote that down, environment. And I thought, okay, what can I do? So this week we started doing some breathing exercises before we went to bed. And that has really been an amazing thing. Like, okay, let's calm ourselves down. We've had a lot going on, and bringing ourselves in and creating that sacredness as we as we lay down. And that is something that I would also add on to just being intentional about what we do have control over is the environment. And then one more quick thing is like the thing with a lot of energy, I'm trying to see that, shift that, and saying our energy is alive and vibrant and contagious. So I'm constantly saying that because I think I have a lot of energy as well. But shifting, instead of seeing that as a down or as a negative thing, but converting it to something positive.
Oh, Mari, you know I'm going to take that on too, because I love that, and redefining that, if that he can't sit still. We are vibrant. We are, I love that you're doing the breathing exercises with him. Jabril actually will sit down and do, the laughter yoga and the breathing and even a small meditation, but very short. His attention span is small, and I don't expect it to be long and drawn out, but it's so awesome, Mari, and I commend you for that you're already teaching him some of those self practices and the mindful practice like that. So congratulations on that. We can all learn from that. So thank you. And ladies, I really want to thank you for joining today. This is such a good thing that we're doing. And there could be people watching this in the future, and I'm just encouraging everyone, if you do not have this book, you have to get it and get it as gifts, because Mari, you and I talked last week that it's bigger than even just for the parent. This is about conscious living, and applying this in all areas of your life. It really is relevant to really going inward instead of outward. So I just wanted to say, next week we are in week 4. Can you believe that? We're already halfway through this study group. It's crazy. It goes so fast, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. But we are on week 4, and we're reading pages 131 through 172. And it'll be from July 10th through the 16th, unless, of course, you're listening to this at a later date. But I did want to just add, we are, Maricela is a leader in Sisterhood Connections, and Sandra is also now a member of Sisterhood Connections, and we are all about creating the conscious living and really the conscious relationships even within sisters and sisterhood, and bringing us women together to really nurture our world back. That's really what fundamentally it's about. We have some really amazing things planned here for the very near short future. Our Director of Leadership, Raj Anderson, and I are doing a special launch tomorrow, so you're really not going to miss that. So you want to jump on the Sisterhood Connections page. We'll be sharing that with the world, and I'm super excited about that. And so if you're new to Sisterhood Connections, you can visit us at sisterhoodconnections.org, or you can find us on Facebook. And so you guys, I am sending love from my heart to yours and everyone who's watching. And, until next week, I'm hoping to see your lovely faces again, and be blissful. Bye. Thank you.